Winehouse. Let me tell you one other thing about Amy Winehouse. I just flown to New York to do Doomed to Die 13 Curses, and one of the curses, of course, is the curse of 27. And what they did at the end, they said, okay, who's going to be the next rock star to die at 27? And they had two choices, Britney Spears or Amy Winehouse. Now, when Amy Winehouse died, it was sort of freaky thinking back that they had picked her as the next, and they were talking about her lifestyle. You know, and I know the lifestyle has something to do with it, and I know that depression plays a role with a number of rock stars. But, you know, when you sort of pick it a year ahead of time, it's kind of freaky when it happens, Andrew.
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand that, you know, probably better than most. And there was a kind of a trajectory to her that was different, I think. You know, to me, there was an energy to Amy Winehouse that's way different than anybody recently that I've seen. And I don't know quite how to express it, Gary, but when I looked at her, I felt that she had both good and bad extra stuff in her tank that the others didn't. No matter how talented, I felt that there was something sort of otherworldly about Amy, and I kind of had a fascination with Amy Winehouse that I didn't have with most other artists. And if, you know, astrologically, we have a very similar kind of chart. You know, we have like a soulmate kind of chart in a lot of ways. So I was always fascinated by her. So if those had been my choices, because I had predicted long ago for Britney Spears, I said that Britney Spears would go through a period where she had a decline, and she would show up again right around the age of 30, and she would kind of jump back on the scene again, which pretty much is what happened to her. It's still kind of a crazy thing, though, isn't it? And when you look at all these artists, not 26, not 29, but specifically 27, and even John saying that, you know, well, I made it to 28, you know, I think I'm out of the woods now. I can live to 90. Do you have any theories as to what that is? If there's some, like, it's a club I want to be in, do you think there's some, now that people know that, I mean, I'm being, you know, I'm not being facetious.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean,
that some of them kind of go, I want that immortality, you know, I'm kind of, you know, I'm flirting with that line. I wonder if that's possible. I mean, if it's part of it.
Well, what did James Dean say? Live fast. What did he say? Live fast.
And live furiously.
Die young.
Leave a good-looking corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he did 2 out of 3. And the thing is with, you know, a lot of rock stars, when they come over, they feel like if you're past 27, you're past your prime. I mean, what did the Who say? I hope I die before I get old. Well, they're in their 70s and maybe doing their last tour. 2 of them are still alive. But, you know, just the idea that creativity ends at a certain age, or when you're young. When you're young, what did Jethro Tull say? Too old to rock and roll, too young to die. But the whole idea is that, you know, a lot of people sort of sit there and they think they gain immortality. You can go all the way back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece, because all the athletes who died young, they had statues made to them, and, you know, that's it. Of course, with rock stars, they're never really dead because you can turn on your radio and you can hear them. And, you know, their music and roadmaps are alive. And when you sit there and you listen to it, they're still with us. You know, they still have the thing. It's like this immortality that comes with it. And today, when you're talking about rock stars who died at 27, I mean, you had the bass player Pennywise died at 27. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know, how many earth-shattering names have shuffled off this mortal coil at 27 now? And, you know, Amy Winehouse was the last. But now I know that any rock star who dies, if they feel like they're that close to that age, then what's going to happen? People are going to be looking at their age group. Now, when I did this, you know, the big mistake would have been if I'd said, okay, I'm going to take everyone who's 27 or in their 27th year. because then what I'd be doing is stretching the envelope. Because if I did that, I would add Graham Parsons, I would add Otis Redding, I would add even more big names. But to me, it had to be 27 and not a few months over their 28th birthday or a few months before their 27th. So that's what made it sort of interesting. But it is bizarre, and it's kind of weird when people play the game, who's going to be the next member of the club. And there's even a rock group, I think, called the 27s now.
Well, when you talk about Otis Redding, and we're going to get a break here in just a second, but before we do, and before we go to break, if I want to track you down, and I want to find out more about you, or I want to know one of your books or all of your books, or know where you're going to be, what's the best way for me to do that?
Well, there's probably two sites. You can go to www.RGaryPatterson.com, in which I have to really update it. But, yeah, you can go to that site, read all about me, read about my books. And then I had a site that you're familiar with on Pop Odyssey that has some of the archives that we did in the past. You can friend me on Facebook. I know that there's a lot of information comes out there. I know that on November 8th, if you're able to get to Toronto, you can hear me and George Norrie and a few other speakers will be up there. And I'll be up there for 2 days, Friday and Saturday. I know my girlfriend doesn't like me to fly very much, but I've got to do that when I don't think I want to drive. So,
well,
but anyway,
the
whole idea is you can always keep up
because
with
what I want to talk
sure
about with Otis Redding, I want to talk about young artists who were killed in plane crashes, and that's got nothing to do with you, because we've already passed. You and I have been 27 twice, so we're safe. But I want to talk about, obviously, Buddy Holly, Otis Redding, Patsy Cline. There's a bazillion of them. And I want to talk about that next, of people who have, then we get into Eddie Cochran, we get a bunch of people who are killed in accidents, transportation accidents, because that's also sort of a professional hazard that comes with this business. So, Rock and Roll Psychic Radio, our guest this evening, equally beautiful, equally vivacious, Gary Patterson. We will be back. Oh, that's true. I mean, that's true. You just got to take credit for the truth. So we will be back in just a couple of minutes. Zita, me, and Gary, don't go anywhere. We're going to get into the mystical, the underbelly of the rock world with the Fox Mulder of rock and roll himself, Mr. Gary Patterson. We'll see you in just a minute.
Stay tuned for more from Andrew Brewer and his guests right after these messages. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The dealer throws me a spade. I sit
Welcome back to the Rock and Roll Psychic Radio Show with your host, Andrew Brewer.
Welcome back, everybody. Once again, Rock and Roll Psychic Radio. My name is Andy Brewer. Our special guest, the picture of vivaciousness himself, Gary Patterson, along with the woman who defined lovely and vivacious, Zita Ost. Over the break, Gary and I just have conversations. We start talking, and stuff comes out of our mouth. Who knows where it comes from? It's just, people talk. But one of the things I wanted, before the break, we were talking about this club of rock stars who have sadly passed at the age of 27. And Gary was mentioning some people who passed right before them, two artists that I really, really do love, Graham Parsons and Otis Redding. And I wanted to kind of shift gears because with Otis Redding, Otis, of course, was killed in a plane crash. And one of the professional hazards associated with being a rock star is a lot of rock stars get killed in planes, especially back in the day when planes maybe weren't as safe. And they also, young, plenty of money, wild child, I run my car into a tree. There's a lot of those too. So I want to kind of shift gears because, the dead's kind of one of my professional worlds, right? Past lives and psychic and mediumship and all the rest of that. So with that, in the break, we're talking about Otis. And right before we came back on, Mr. Patterson, you said you had an interesting story about Otis Redding. And when you tell me you have an interesting story, I believe you. So, other people say that to me, and I'm like, yeah, of course you do. But when you say it, I know that that's gospel. So you got to tell me, what's your story? Because we ran out of time over the commercial break.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you the story. This a few years ago, I was having brunch in Nashville with Steve Cropper. Now, if you don't know, you know Steve. And Steve was...
I know the name. I don't know him personally.
Yeah, well, his criteria, his great guitar playing with Booker T and the MGs, plus he wrote Midnight Hour with Wilson Pickett, and he wrote all the Otis Redding songs with Otis. And he and Otis were very close. And after they did the Monterey Pop Festival, Otis was staying in Sausalito. And he wrote this song called Dock of the Bay. So he comes back to Stax to cut it. And Jim Stewart, the owner of Stax Records, did not want to release it. And neither did Zelma, Otis's wife, because they said it would destroy his sound because, it was nothing like Otis had done before. And Otis told Steve, he said, listen, and you know what I'm going to do at the end? I'm going to whistle. I want you to listen. So he did the song. Steve and the band cut it, and Otis said, I want to hear the mix when I get back. Well, he never heard the mix because he was killed in a plane crash as he left, and the song he had never heard it. So the song that Stewart did not want to release from Stax Records was released. And when you listen to it, it's sort of haunting because at the very